Okay. Hello, Titans. Thank you for joining us today for our Let's Get Fresh with CalFresh and live demo happening during Hunger and Homelessness Awareness Week. I am your host, Lupe Tinoco Oliveros. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm a programming graduate assistant for Tuffy's Basic Needs. Today, we are joined by a special guest who is going to provide us a presentation, and we'll have time at the end for a moderated Q&A. You're also able to submit any questions at any time during the chat straight to Tuffy's Basic Needs, and we will answer them at the end. Also, before we get started, I want to let you know that this webinar is being recorded and it will be posted up on our website and YouTube channel next week. And also, we kindly ask that you keep yourself muted throughout the presentation. So without further ado, I will now hand it over to our guest to introduce themselves and to begin our presentation today.
Thank you so much for that introduction, Lupe. Hi, Titans. My name is Jared Ventura, and I currently serve as the CalFresh Outreach and Enrollment Graduate Student Assistant here at Tuffy's Basic Needs at Cal State Fullerton. Contact information will also be at the end of this presentation in case you have any specific questions about this presentation or need further virtual assistance regarding any of our other services. So we can go ahead and move to the next slide. And we'll have a note on our hours of operation. So through fall 2020, Tuffy's Basic Needs Services Center is providing virtual assistance to students. We will continue to meet with students and provide services, and our email will be checked regularly during business hours Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Please do not hesitate to contact us regarding any questions, and students can also fill out a Tuffy's Basic Needs Services request form, which we'll show you how to do in a bit in this presentation. So a little bit of our agenda, we're going to have a CalFresh overview with information regarding income requirements, expenses, mixed status households, interview with Orange County Social Services. And throughout this entire presentation, I will be saying Orange County Social Services, but Tuffy's Basic Needs is able to assist students if they live in maybe LA County, Riverside County, because the process for applying for CalFresh is very similar. And again, we will be having a live demonstration in this webinar. And then also at the end, there will be additional resources, links, and contact information and how to contact those appropriate staff members. So we're going to start off with a Zoom poll just to kind of gauge what everyone knows. And so the question that we're asking is, what is CalFresh? And so you have a few answer choices there. A, food stamps. B, supplemental nutrition assistance program. C, aid to purchase healthy foods and groceries. And D, all of the above. So we'll give you a few seconds to fill that out, and we'll go over the correct answer in just a bit. So it looks like everyone filled out the poll pretty quickly. And so actually it was kind of a trick question because all of the answers are correct. So it's D, all of the above. So thank you all for participating in that Zoom poll. There will be more to come soon. So what is CalFresh? CalFresh is a program that provides assistance to low-income households by assisting them in purchasing healthy and fresh foods. People know this usually as food stamps, and it's nationally known as SNAP, as we just saw in the previous Zoom poll question, or a supplemental nutrition assistance program. CalFresh benefits are approved amounts through an EBT card, and back in the day, actually, they used to give physical stamps. So now it's a little bit easier, and that EBT card works just like a debit card that can be swiped at participating retailers. And so Orange County Social Services Agency, OCSSA, determines eligibility for individuals and/or households. And reiterating again that we are able to assist students even if you live outside of Orange County. As long as you reside in the state of California, we're able to help you. So where is CalFresh accepted? CalFresh is accepted at the Orange County Farmers Market, Walmart, Amazon, Target, Vons. I'm not going to read the entire list, but you can see the rest of the list for yourself. And so there's an asterisk next to Walmart and Amazon. And so that indicates that these are two participating retailers that accept EBT purchases online. If you follow us at our Instagram account at Basic Needs CSUF, there are a little bit more details on how to online order from Walmart and Amazon. But one really cool tool that I like to show students is the SNAP Retailer Locator to find where CalFresh is accepted near you. So we're going to go ahead and do a short demonstration on that SNAP Retailer Locator. And so here we'll see a map of the world, but we can search a little bit more closely. So we're going to search by city. And so we're going to type in Fullerton, CA, and it'll pop up there, and we can click that USA, and then it'll show us all of these stores on the right-hand side. Within 5 miles of that location. At the top, there is that sliding scale bar that allows you to make it up to 25 miles, or you can make it a little bit less than 5 miles. So if we click on one of those store locations, it can be any one. So like Circle B Food Store, they do currently accept CalFresh benefits, and it gives you the address and the county. So we obviously know it's in Orange County because we searched within Fullerton, California. But if we want a little bit more specific of a search, we can use a zip code. So we're going to go ahead and try 92831, which is a zip code near Cal State Fullerton. And so again, there are your options on the right-hand side, and you'll see things like 7-Eleven, Walgreens. And I just like to tell students that although CalFresh benefits are accepted at Walgreens and 7-Eleven, and CVS Pharmacy is also on there, you can only use your EBT card to purchase food and groceries. So you cannot use your card to buy vitamins or dog food, pet food, things like that. So just keep that in mind when you are using your EBT card. And this SNAP Retailer Locator works with any other location. So we're going to try another zip code, 92501, which is in Riverside County. See, it pops up right there. Perfect. Again, you have that list on that right-hand side within that 5-mile radius. So we're going to try one last example, which is a zip code for LA County, 91607. And so again, there are those options on the right-hand side. So as you can see, this, again, it works with any location. And thank you so much for giving us that short demonstration on the SNAP Retailer Locator. So I do want to make a plug for the Orange County Farmers Market Match Program. And so when using CalFresh benefits at the farmers market, you will receive vouchers and tokens to spend at the market. The EBT benefits are matched, and market match funds in the form of tokens and vouchers are provided to spend on fruits and vegetables. So this is a great way for you to support local farmers in the area while also getting some of the freshest produce in the area as well. So I always like to plug that. And the Orange County's Farmers Market Match Program is still going on even during this COVID-19 pandemic, with CDC guidelines in place, such as social distancing, mask mandates, etc. So it is still a safe environment to go and visit. So a little bit about CalFresh eligibility for students. So social services defines students as between ages 18 to 49, and students must be enrolled at least half-time or more in an institution of higher education. So full-time is up to 12 units, and part-time is up to 10 units for undergrad and up to 8 units for graduate students. One thing that I would like to keep in mind, or for everyone to keep in mind, is that Orange County Social Services does adhere to the student age limit, but those outside of the age limit may be able to qualify with other criteria, especially if you are if you are below the income limit, which we will go over later in this presentation. So a little bit about CalFresh eligibility for students. Students must meet at least one of the following. So students do not have to meet all of these requirements, just one of them. So working at least 20 hours a week, enrolled in or receiving work study, or have the intentions to work. The student is a primary caretaker of a child 12 or younger. Cal Grant A with your California Student Aid Commission CalFresh letter. Cal Grant B, again with that California Student Aid Commission CalFresh letter. And in that letter, it'll say a couple of sentences of something along the lines of like, you may be eligible for CalFresh. So that letter is needed if that is your only student eligibility requirement. Also, if you are enrolled in an educational opportunity program, EOP, Disability Support Services, DSS, the McNair Scholars Program, the Guardian Scholars Program, the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. And so those are just a few ways students can meet student eligibility criteria to be approved for CalFresh benefits. And like I said at the beginning of this slide, students must meet at least just one of the following. So who is eligible for CalFresh? So individuals that are eligible are US citizens, permanent residents, refugees and asylees, U or T visa holders. Individuals that are ineligible are undocumented individuals, immigrants with temporary visas, fleeing felons, and students who do not meet the student eligibility criteria, or students who make over the income limit for their household size. So requesting virtual application assistance, first, students will submit a basic needs services request form, which we'll show you how to do momentarily. And then after you submit that basic needs services request form, a staff member will reach out to you to schedule a meeting, usually within 1 to 3 business days. We know that some of these circumstances may be more pressing. So we try to respond to you within that time frame. And then after you meet with a staff member, you will have a pre-screening for CalFresh eligibility to see if you meet the student criteria, the income criteria to apply for CalFresh. And then you'll have virtual application assistance for CalFresh where someone will walk you through the entire application process step by step. And I always like to advertise this to students because there are other resources that can make the application process a little bit smoother. Such as maybe registering for a My Benefits CalWin account, which serves as a direct link to the county, or, submitting your 3 most recent pay stubs. We want to reduce as much back and forth between you and the county. So I highly, highly recommend that virtual application assistance. And everyone's circumstances is different, so we can always help you answer those questions. And then after virtual application assistance at that meeting, we will submit your CalFresh application. So now we're gonna go ahead and do our basic needs services request demonstration. So our form can be found on the Dean of Students website. And while that is being pulled up, you can see that the basic needs services request form is on the right-hand side, and thank you for clicking on it. So if we scroll down just a little bit, it'll ask for basic information such as your student info, so your name, first and last name, CWID number, phone number, email address. And so if you are requesting CalFresh virtual application assistance, you can click on the food box within that first question. And then where it says describe in detail your current unforeseen crisis or situation, you can request CalFresh virtual application assistance. And of course, if you have any of those other needs, such as financial need or need of temporary housing, click those boxes that apply to you too. But like I said, if you're only applying for CalFresh, you can click on the food assistance box. So if we scroll down just a little bit, we will see where it says, do you utilize services from any of the following on-campus programs? Check all that apply. So some of these boxes are student eligibility criteria. So try to fill out this form as accurately as possible, because that will help us know if you are eligible for CalFresh. So you can see there it says Center for Scholars, Guardian Scholars, or Disability Support Services, EOP, things like that, just so that can help us with determining your eligibility for CalFresh. And I believe if we scroll down just a little bit more, it says, what outcome do you seek? And then you can say again, seeking CalFresh assistance. And so, like I said earlier, just keep in mind that within 1 to 3 business days as a staff member, sorry, I apologize. Within 1 to 3 business days, a staff member will reach out to you. And then we encourage you to read the FERPA agreement as well. So thank you for showing us that basic needs demonstration, and it is on the Dean of Students website. So a few CalFresh application reminders. Students who are 21 years old and younger must apply with their parents. But if you are 22 years old, you can apply on your own as long as you purchase and prepare food by yourself. So I just like to make that distinction, because that a lot of our students fall within that 21-year-old, 22-year-old age range. So if you're 21 years old and say you are living on campus, then you can apply by yourself. But if you are 21 and live with your parents, you must apply with your parents. Also, married couples living together must apply together, even if they are in the process of divorce. That is part of how they determine household size. So a little bit about the CalFresh application process. So we just recently went over the process for the basic needs services request form and how to request virtual application assistance. So I like to go over this process with students because it can be a little confusing at times. So if you remember, step 5 was to submit your CalFresh application. And so now with the CalFresh application process, step 1 is to complete your application. And again, you can do that with one-on-one virtual application assistance, or you can complete the application individually. Again, I highly recommend that you use our services here at Tuffy's Basic Needs to get your questions answered, just because you do not want to submit any incorrect documentation. And like I said, you want to reduce the amount of back and forth between yourself and the county. And so your step 2 will be interviewing with Orange County Social Services. Like I said, if you live in a different county, like LA County, you'll have an interview with LA County Social Services. And primarily those are being held by phone call right now due to COVID-19. And so step 3 at that interview, they will tell you if you need to submit any additional verifications or documents. Step 4, your EBT card will be mailed. And then step 5, you get to start using your CalFresh benefits, which is the fun part. So a little extra note before we jump into the topic of income with CalFresh. So gross monthly income is the income amount before taxes. That is how CalFresh determines income. And so a note on income, most households must have a total gross monthly income less than or equal to 200% of the federal poverty line. And with your gross monthly income, you can also find that income amount before taxes using your pay stub. So if you are a Cal State Fullerton student, you will log into your student portal and you can find your pay stubs there. So now we're going to talk about the CalFresh income requirements. And so like I mentioned on the previous slide, that they do base it off of 200% of the federal poverty line. So each October, they do change the income requirements. So this set of particular income requirements are effective from October 1st through September 30th. I do always let students know that maybe you are not eligible now based on the income, but you can be eligible, especially if there are changes to the income requirements later on in the next academic year. But in the meantime, we can still connect you to other food resources on and off campus. So one thing that I like to emphasize, say, for example, you have a household size of 1, the maximum gross monthly income that you can receive is $2,128. So if you make over that amount, say you're working maybe 2 or 3 jobs and you make over $2,150, you are not eligible for CalFresh. And so the maximum CalFresh allotment that you can receive on your EBT card is $204. And so again, that is based on everybody's particular circumstances, depending on how much rent, utilities, and services that you pay for. The county will determine your eligibility in your CalFresh allotment. So, for example, for a household size of 2, your combined gross monthly income between both people, maybe say 2 roommates living together, it can be $2,874. So there is a maximum CalFresh allotment for $374. And so I'm going to skip over 3 and go to 4. But if you have a household size over 4 people, please email us at our basic needs email, which will be again at the end of this presentation, and we can send you a document with that information. Thank you. So what counts as income? So income, I like to think of it as a steady flow of something that you receive consistently. So paychecks, Social Security, supplemental security income, those usually come in maybe on a biweekly or monthly basis. Same thing with disability income, pension, cash assistance, and unemployment does count as income as well. Certain veteran benefits and child support. So what does not count as income is financial aid, military income, loans, non-recurring lump sum payments. And one thing that I like to note here is that I have worked with students before who do use financial aid as their primary source of income. And so we will touch a little bit on this in our live demonstration, but since loans are not a consistent form of income coming in, it does not count as income. So what counts as an expense? So on the previous slide, we had income, and now we're talking about expenses. The county in social services consider expenses as rent, utilities, cell phone or house phone, child care, child support, and medical expenses if you are 60 and older or disabled. What does not count as an expense are cable or streaming services. So that's why there's a big red X there on the right-hand corner. As much as I love Netflix, Hulu, and Disney Plus, I have all 3. It does not count as an expense when applying for CalFresh. In addition, car payments and car insurance do not count, Wi-Fi or internet, tuition and student loans, and credit card payments. So again, like I said, these are usually set by the county, and that is why they have a little bit more stricter requirements when it comes to income and expenses. So a little note before we jump into household and household sizes. CalFresh defines a household as an individual or group that purchase and prepare food together. So when I was talking about income earlier, I said like maybe 2 roommates purchase and prepare food together, right? But not everyone's circumstances are like that. So say you live with 3 other roommates, there's 4 of you under one apartment, but if you are the only one that purchases or prepares food for yourself, you would consider yourself just a household size of 1 because you are the only one purchasing and preparing food for yourself. And so just a quick reminder, lawful permanent residents, green card holders are eligible for CalFresh. So a little bit of information about mixed status households. At least one person in the household must be a US citizen or legal permanent resident. And so a note on prorated income, social services will only take into account the income proportional to the number of eligible members in the household. So that is a really confusing statement on prorated income. And in the next slide, we will be going into more detail to hopefully further clarify that. So say, for example, you have a household of 3. Both parents are undocumented, but one child is a citizen. Information of the non-citizen parents are required, and immigration status is not shared with immigration authorities. So what I always like to emphasize to people is that CalFresh is a social service, and they are not required to report any immigration statuses or information to ICE. So everything is confidential that you are putting onto the application. So I just like to emphasize that point. And so the household will receive CalFresh benefits based on the child who is a US citizen. So maybe part of the parent's income is going towards a household size of 1, but those undocumented parents are unfortunately not eligible for CalFresh. So just another quick example, say you have a household of 5, again, both parents are undocumented, but you have 3 children who are US citizens. The household will receive CalFresh benefits based on the 3 children that are US citizens, and a partial amount of the parent's income will count towards their income limit. So a little bit more information about the interview with Orange County Social Services. I always tell students answer the phone, especially after you fill out your CalFresh application, because social services will call up to at least 3 times, and most caseworkers do not leave voicemails. So if you received a call from a private or blocked number, try to call them back or be sure to answer. I already jumped ahead to point B, but like it says there, if the student misses the call, the caseworker will wait for the student to call them back. So it is up to the student if they received a missed call from a blocked or private number. You should call them back. So I have some more tips on the next slide as well. Check your mail too, because your case number, assigned caseworker, and caseworker's phone number will come through the mail about a week after the application. And also your mailing address, please be sure it is accurate. Don't forget to put maybe apartment numbers and things like that, because your EBT card will be mailed to you, and also in a separate letter, your EBT PIN code will be mailed to you as well. So unfortunately, you don't get to choose your PIN code, but it is fun to use your benefits. So those are just 2 little notes that I have on the interview with Orange County Social Services. And respond to follow-up messages. So like I said earlier, after your interview, they will usually ask for more documentation or additional verification. So respond to those messages and try to submit them as soon as you can, because the faster that you submit your documentation, the faster that you can get connected to your CalFresh benefits. And so one point that I like to tell students too is advocate for yourself if the caseworker is not familiar with the student exemptions. So say you are enrolled in disability support services here at Cal State Fullerton, and maybe the caseworker will say something along the lines of like, I don't think you're eligible, based on our student eligibility criteria. And you can say, no, I know that I'm eligible for CalFresh because I'm enrolled in disability support services, and I provided a proof and letter of verification that I'm enrolled in that service at Cal State Fullerton. So advocate for yourself again if the caseworker is not familiar with those student eligibility criteria. So what happens if I miss the interview? Things come up, life happens. So if the caseworker doesn't get back to the student within 2 days, call the social services helpline. I recommend that students maybe take a picture or a screenshot of the slide so you can keep that phone number there, and do your best to complete the interview before the 30-day deadline. So the moment that you submit your application, your CalFresh application, the county has 30 days to give you a response on your application. So what that means is that you also need to submit your documentation verification hopefully within that 30-day period. So if you attempt to contact your caseworker and say you're playing phone tag, you miss their calls, they miss your calls, another 30 days may be added onto the case, but we like to avoid from that happening, which is why I highly recommend, again, that CalFresh virtual application assistance through Tuffy's Basic Needs. And so a little bit of information on CalFresh expedited benefits. So students must meet one of the following for expedited benefits only. So having a combined gross monthly income of households being less than $150 in cash and less than $100 in checking and savings account, including liquid resources. So that means that you cannot have more than $150 and more than $100 in checking and savings. And so what CalFresh expedited benefits means is that the county will usually give you a response to your CalFresh application within 3 to 4 business days, just because the need is a little bit more urgent. So total cost of expenses is greater than their income. Say you make $1,000 a month and your rent, cell phone bills, water, heating, cooling are $1,200. There's a $200 difference there. And so in that case, you are also eligible for expedited benefits. Also, number 3, there's a seasonal worker in the household just because their employment is not long-term. So those are 3 ways in which students can be eligible for expedited benefits. And so reporting changes on your CalFresh application, I always like to tell students report decreases in income immediately, because that can help you be eligible for maybe a higher amount of CalFresh allotment. And also report increases if you are above the income reporting threshold. So if at any point, say you get a new job or you get a pay increase, you need to report that on your CalFresh application. And so with expenses as well, like I said, report an increase or decrease immediately, because that can change your CalFresh allotment again. And same thing with your address and phone number change. Report it immediately, because that is how the county is contacting you. And like I said in previous slides, your EBT card is mailed to you and your PIN code. So say if you need a replacement card, they're unable to get that to you properly if you do not have the correct contact information listed. And so that last bullet point, it says CalFresh recipients should report to the county if their income exceeds their income reporting threshold, or if you plan to not return to the county, immigration status changes, and if there are changes to student work and exemption status. So like I mentioned earlier, say you are enrolled in disability support services and maybe you no longer are enrolled in future academic semesters. You need to report that, because it is a change on your CalFresh application. And we just want to make sure that everything that you submit is as accurate as possible. So I like to do a little debunking in my presentation. So I have a few CalFresh myths on the left-hand side and CalFresh facts on the right-hand side. And so this is a little fun way for us to learn more about CalFresh. And so oftentimes people think that you can only buy certain types of food with CalFresh benefits, which is true to an extent, because you can use CalFresh benefits to buy food items, but you can only use it to buy food. So you can't buy pet food, soaps, vitamins, paper products, cigarettes, and like I mentioned in our demonstration with the SNAP retailer locator, say you can use your benefits at Walgreens and CVS. You can only use your CalFresh card to buy food. And this is another bullet point that I reiterated earlier as well, but I applied for CalFresh in the past and did not qualify. I cannot apply again. So the fact to that is that there may have been changes in your circumstances. Reapply if you are in need. Like I said, those income requirements do change every October. And so based on that 200% of the federal poverty line, you may be within the income limit. And so in that case, you can apply again, or maybe you weren't enrolled in a student eligibility criteria program, but now you are. So that could serve as your student eligibility requirement, like I mentioned earlier, disability support services, EOP, guardian scholars, the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, etc. So immigration authorities check the CalFresh records. That is a myth. CalFresh client records cannot be checked or shared with immigration authorities. So like it says there, nothing is reported to ICE. So everything that you report on your CalFresh application will have maintained confidentiality within the CalFresh and Social Services Office. So another Zoom poll. What other information about CalFresh would you like to know in the future? We'll give you a few seconds to fill out that Zoom poll. So some of your answer choices are A, information on income, B, information on student eligibility, C, application process, D, interview with Orange County Social Services. Again, we are able to help if you are outside of Orange County. E, where benefits can be used, and F, other, and you can send your response using the chat box. And so we will not be sharing the results of this poll, and I thank everyone for filling it out. So now we are going to jump into our CalFresh application demonstration, and we will wait momentarily while that is pulled up. So here, this is a website only for demonstration purposes, and it'll warn us in the beginning. But to start off, for this student example, we're going to go ahead and do one student who is 22 years old that lives with their parents, but purchases and prepares food on their own. The student is also a lawful permanent resident or a green card holder who receives federal work study, but does not currently have a job and is using financial aid as income. So in our previous CalFresh demonstrations and on our Tuffy's Basic Needs Services YouTube channel, we also did a live demonstration with different student eligibility criteria. So if you are interested in that, it will be linked in the description box down below. But we'll go ahead and click apply now and get started. So here's a little bit about how CalFresh works. You can see submit proof of your situation, do an interview with a county worker, which is some information that I just previously went over, and we can go ahead and get started. And then we'll hit continue. And so what is your zip code for this one? We'll say the student is living in Riverside County, so 92501. Like I mentioned before, our previous demonstration, that student lived in Orange County. So this one, how many people do you regularly purchase and prepare food with? It's just me. And then the reason that they ask this question too is to see if you have a CalFresh application already on file. But for this example, we'll click no. And so there's that note that this is a demonstration. And then sounds good. Just making sure we're in the right county. So for this example, we will click no, we do not receive supplemental security income. And like I said, we are a 22-year-old student, so no on being 60 years or older. So is everyone on the application a US citizen? We'll click no for this one because we did mention that the student is a lawful permanent resident. And so right there, it'll say how many people in your household are one of the following. And so in this case, we are that second bullet point, the legal permanent resident. So we'll click one person. And we are a college student. And so like I mentioned before, we do receive federal work study. So that third checkbox right there. And then that is our eligibility requirement. There's also a note there where it says see programs that qualify you for CalFresh. If we open that, there are those student eligibility criteria that I went over earlier in the presentation. So we can click no, I don't live in on-campus housing. And then yes, we do live with our parents. So for this one, we'll click no because we're 22. Now we'll hit continue on that one. And so do we have a job? So we'll click no. And so we do not do any freelance work as well or independent contracting work such as Uber driver or Lyft driver. And we have not lost a job within the last 30 days. So do we get money from any other sources? We do not. And we do not pay for court-ordered child support. And when I say we, I mean this student example. So for how much money do you have on hand, like it says there, this won't affect your benefit amount. It's only used to see if you qualify for expedited service. So like I went over recently, I did provide those income limits. But for this example, we can say that we have $600 on hand. And then this looks correct. Great, it says we may likely be eligible. And so now this is where it's going to ask you about incomes and expenses. So how much do you pay for rent or mortgage every month? We can say we pay about $400. And then we pay for our cell phone or landline, heating and cooling, and water as well. Then we'll hit continue. And then do you pay for child or dependent care? We do not. And so this is just asking us to review again that we pay $400 a month in rent and mortgage and for heating, cooling, and water, cell phone, and landline. So this looks correct. And right here, it says because of your income situation, you may qualify for expedited service. So the reason for that is because the income that we are currently receiving due to having, in this student example, no job, and we're relying on financial aid, like I said, maybe loans, to pay the rent and our expenses for, like I said, rent, heating, cooling, water. This means that you may qualify for expedited service. So the county has 3 days to process your application, but due to the current pandemic, the expedited service may take a little bit longer than that. So we just need a little more information. This should all be contact information. So our first name will be Tuffy, and then Titan as our last name. And so when were we born, we can say May 8th, 05, 08, 1998. And for our sex, we can say male. And so for our social security number, we can say 1234567889. Hopefully that lets us. Perfect. And so for our phone number, it asks for you to type it in twice just to make sure you're putting in the correct phone number, because that's where your county interview will take place. So our phone number is 1234567890, and then we'll type that again. And then our email address is tuffytitan@csufullerton.edu. I know there's usually a dot in between, but this is again for demonstration purposes. And so it'll also ask you what language you prefer. Just click the appropriate option. And then what is your current living situation? So again, we'll click on I rent or own. So we are renting. And then what is the name of your school? I always recommend that students type out the entire name of the school that they're attending. So California State University, Fullerton. So where are we currently living? 1234 Livingsdale Street, apartment number 8. It's my favorite number. And so what city do we live in? We did say Riverside. And then we'll use that same zip code from the beginning, 92501. And so it'll ask you there, is this the best address for you to receive mail for the next 3 months? So say if you are maybe switching between places of residence, you might want to use a different mailing address. But for this example, we will say yes, send mail there, because we will be living there for the next 3 months or so. And then it's going to ask you again, how many people are in your household? So this is just double checking specific situations and circumstances. It should already be pre-checked for you. So we'll continue. And then here it'll ask, do you have any time preferences? So the county will try to call you within your availability that you put here on your CalFresh application. So we can put, say, for example, Monday and Wednesday from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. And maybe all day Friday, because there's no class. A lot of students don't have class on Friday. And so this is based on personal preference, but we'll do email me with updates. And then they're just double checking your email address again. So this is asking to designate someone to help with your CalFresh benefits. This is usually for people who are 60 or older. Sometimes they do have a helper helping them, purchase their groceries for them, but we will click no for this example. And then is there anything else you would like us to know? So I always like to reiterate student eligibility requirements. So for this, we can say California State University, Fullerton student. And then we can say period, and then approved for federal work study, but currently do not have a job. And am looking for employment. Then we can put a period. And so another thing that I also reiterated at the beginning is that the student is relying on loans and financial aid to pay rent and utilities to parents. So we can also put just a short sentence about that, saying I rely on loans and financial aid to pay expenses. Perfect. And then continue. So this is just like it says, the legal stuff. You've been honest on this application. And then once you read through those, hit I agree. And then here we can type in our full legal name. So Tuffy Titan. And then sign and submit. So I think I always tell students that's a little misleading because you think you're done, but they have a little bit more questions for you. So do any of these situations apply to you? If we scroll down, it should already be pre-checked for us. We're just double checking again. So continue. And then this is a question about unable to work for any of these reasons. So we're going to click none of the above. And then continue. So here's a little bit of a note of all of the proof that you will need to submit as soon as you can. So like it says, copy of your ID, proof of your housing expenses, maybe a rent receipt from your parents, and proof that you're paying for those utility bills like heating, cooling, water, proof of immigration status. And they will ask for a copy of your financial aid award letter, verifying that you are eligible or that you are receiving federal work study. In addition, a copy of your class schedule. And then, like it says there, because you qualify for expedited services, you can get benefits without proof, but just try to submit as much proof and documentation as you can. But for this demonstration, we will submit proof later. And then we can say, no, I'm already registered to vote. And then this is where it'll tell you your CalFresh application has been successfully submitted. So like it says there, submitted to the Riverside County. And then those are just some additional notes for you. On the bottom, They have a short little feedback. I think feedback is always helpful. So you can go ahead and fill that out, and that is submitting your CalFresh application. So now we're going to do another Zoom poll since we just completed that demonstration. But this question is asking, I understand the CalFresh application process, and you can choose between A, strongly agree, B, agree, C, neutral, D, disagree, E, strongly disagree. So we'll give you a few seconds to fill that out, and we will not be sharing the poll results. Thank you so much for filling that out. And so we have a second question in that same Zoom poll, which says, if I encounter issues with completing my CalFresh application, I know how to request virtual assistance through Tuffy's Basic Needs. A, strongly agree, B, agree, C, neutral, D, disagree, E, strongly disagree. Same answer choices as last time. Thank you so much, everyone, for filling out that Zoom poll. And here are some links and resources that will also, again, be linked in the description box down below. So the Cal State Fullerton Dean of Students office, where we showed you how to access the Tuffy's Basic Needs Services request form. We also provide the demo website for the CalFresh application. So if you would just like to see, again, what questions are going to be asked, you can do so there. There's also a farmer's market finder, which is very similar to the SNAP retailer locator. And you can enter in your city or your zip code. Like I said, I always recommend that zip code because it is a more specific and narrow search. We also partner with Second Harvest Food Bank of Orange County, so I recommend checking out their website. And also, there's a link there to the student eligibility requirement and also 211 Orange County. As for other counties, there's the link to the LA County Regional Food Bank with their phone number listed there. And also the Inland Empire Food Bank, which serves Riverside and San Bernardino County. And so here's our contact information. So our email is basicneeds@fullerton.edu. Like I said, my name is Jared Ventura. I'm the CalFresh Outreach and Enrollment Grad Assistant, and you can email us at basicneeds@fullerton.edu, and also Victoria Ajamian, who is our Basic Needs Center coordinator. Her email is there as well. So thank you so much. And there again, you can follow us on Instagram. Like I said earlier, at Basic Needs CSUF, you can find out more information on CalFresh on Wednesdays, CalFresh Wednesdays, and also the Dean of Students office as well, where they share programming and events that are happening on campus throughout the week.
Great, thank you, Jared, for this informative presentation. So if you haven't submitted any questions yet, please feel free to drop them into the chat to Tuffy's Basic Needs. We have some questions already that have come through. So the first one for you, Jared, is if I am 21 years old and I'm living with my parents, can I apply a loan?
So if you are 21 years old, you are able to apply a loan in this circumstance if you live not with your parents. So if you are 21, you can apply by yourself if you live by yourself, but if you live with your parents, you still need to apply with your parents.
Thank you. Next question is, do I have to be working a work-study job to be eligible?
So like with the student example that we just had, that student was eligible for federal work study, and that was one of their student eligibility criteria. But you could see that the student is still eligible for CalFresh, even if they currently do not have a job. Yeah, thank you. Great question.
Okay, another one kind of related is, do I need to provide proof of having intentions to work?
So you do not need to have proof of having intentions to work, but that will be a question asked at your county interview. So just be prepared for that.
Thank you. And the last question that we have is, will the county report my immigration status to the immigration authorities?
So no, your immigration status will not be shared with immigration authorities. CalFresh is a social service and it is not required to report. They're not required to report to immigration authorities or ICE. Everything that is reported on your CalFresh application is confidential and stays within the CalFresh office. So thank you for that question.
All right, so that sums up the questions that we received. Again, I want to thank you, Jared, for providing this great information today. And I also want to thank our audience for joining us. A quick reminder, this will be available on our website and on our YouTube channel. You could watch it at a later date, go back and find the information that you need. Also, all the links that are shown in this presentation will be in the description. And I just want to send you all a quick reminder that next week we're going to have a managing debt workshop on Monday, the 23rd at 3 p.m. So we hope to see you there. All right. Bye, Titans.
Thank you.